Glass is one of the most unique materials invented by man. In the hot state, it is a glowing hot liquid, and in a cool state, it transforms into a hard, transparent, fragile material. Like other countries of Central Europe, the glass industry of Kozjansko has a remarkable tradition. The glass industry in Slovenia developed mostly near forests, which offered a sufficient supply of wood. Wood was not only important as a fuel for melting the glass, but also as a raw material for making potash, which was added to the silica sand to lower the melting point. To color the glass, they added various metal oxides. Glassworks were most often established by landlords who invited glass workers from the regions of Austria, the Czech Republic, Bavaria, and Silesia to their vast forest-covered areas. The landlords gave a piece of their land to the glassworkers as tenancy, which enabled glass production for about 20 years. When the glassworkers used up the forests in those areas, they moved to another location. In those days, glassworks as such were located far from the settlements, mostly because of fire safety and the accessibility of raw materials. The only thing needed was a sufficient supply of wood and the proximity of water, which powered the stamp mills for crushing the raw materials and was later used to power the wheels of the grinding mills. Glasswork settlements were simple, just a furnace building erected on 4 pillars which supported the roof. The glassworks usually operated from the end of April until the end of October. The glass workers were regarded as nomads as they continuously moved from one glassworks to another. They produced glass products of the same quality as other glassworks in Europe. They also mastered the most demanding shaping techniques, which were typical of Venetian glass at that time. Up until the 18th century, glassmaking was considered a form of art, ARS VITRARIA. Besides the area surrounding the Carthusian monastery Ujeta, evidence of the earliest glassworks in Slovenia can also be found around the Macelj forest near Žetale, on Vetrnik nad Kozjem in Svetli Dol below Svetina pri Celju, and the southern slopes of the Pohorje mountains above Vitanje. The most renowned glass production region in Slovenia is Žusem and its surrounding area. Based on the archives, many more locations of glassworks were found in this area. Traces of glass production in Hrastje, Dobrina, and at the location of the very last glassworks in the settlement Loka pri Žusmu, which had become a true industrial plant, can still be found today. This glassworks closed its doors in the middle of the 1880s. Along the river Sotla, another glassworks was established in Lok at the end of the 18th century. It operated until 1874. Wood was supplied partially from the homeland forests and later also from the forest beyond the river Sotla that Count Ferdinand Atems purchased from the Counts Drašković. In the beginning, 25 loggers and around 40 glassworkers were employed there. The glassworks had 2 operating sites. One part of the glassworks was intended for the production of mineral water bottles, while the other was the production site for dining glass dishes and beer bottles and glasses. In the heart of Kozjansko, the owner of the castles at Kozje, Pilstein, and Spodnja Sjenica, Baron Joseph Wintershofen, built a small glassworks as early as in the second quarter of the 18th century. It was located in the narrow valley below Veternik. In the cadastral map from the Franciscan Cadaster from 1824 through 1825, it was marked as the Old Glassworks, while the New Glassworks is marked just below the top of Veternik. The Josephian Cadaster also includes information about the existence of glassworks in the area of Veternik. In addition to these 2 glassworks in Kozja Castle, Wintershofen had yet another one at the foot of the hillsides of Lisca. This one was close to the village of Polana below Lisca. The above-mentioned glassworks was presumably built by Wintershofen as early as in 1771 and had only 8 workers. The new owner, Karl Azula, moved glassworks to the confluence of the Gračnica and Lahovnica rivers into Jurkloster. As the forests in the previous location were depleted. The glassworks had 1 glass melting furnace, 1 cooling furnace, 8 melting pots, and a pre-processing site for raw materials. The products were moved over Mrzlopolje towards Šentjur and over Vrh nad Laškim towards Laško. They needed around 12 to 14 horses to transport these products. After 1818, Franz Grohmann, who came to our lands from the northern Czech Republic and was in charge of the glassworks for almost 40 years, succeeded Azula. During this period, the glassworks experienced immense prosperity. The primary production was focused on bottles and beer bottles and glasses, as well as on products made from colored and polished glass. When the glassworks was taken over by Grohmann's son-in-law, Edward Haider, it employed 32 workers and 2 officials. In 1860, the glassworks moved to Hrastnik, where it still operates today. In Kozjansko and Celje, they produced mainly products from green glass. Various written reports, preserved glass bowls and fragments proved that the frosted and multicolored glass were also produced. In the 18th and 19th century, they didn't only make simple glass, but also complex objects, which were equal to the design achievements of other European countries at that time. In some glassworks, they limited their glass blowing to create just simple and useful objects and beer bottles made of green glass. In glassworks, which later expanded or became industrial installations, more complex shaping methods were also used, such as adding glass to the surface of products at the furnaces, polishing, engraving, and painting the products. The glassworks in this area had a relatively well-spread trading network for the sales of their products. In the middle of the 19th century, the Loka pri Žusmu glassworks also represented its creation in Trieste, where it sold its own products and those of neighboring glassworks to Levante, Naples, Lombardy, Milan, and Sicily. These glassworks, similar to those in Styria, produced mineral water bottles, cooking and dining glass dishes, beer bottles and glasses, medicine bottles, serving dishes and chandeliers, which still today serve as ornaments in many churches in this region. More precious products were decorated with cutting, polishing, engraving, and enamel painting methods. This shows that in some parts the motifs originated from local art, and sometimes the decorative elements followed artistic industrial, and folklore demands. Glass products for domestic use remained mostly smooth, strictly functional, and with aesthetical simple forms, which are still admired today. The rich diversity of the glassmaking tradition still continues today in the Steklarna Rogaška and Steklarna Hrastnik glassworks.